Hello and welcome to the In the Money Media YouTube channel, your one-stop shop for Kentucky Derby coverage and news. As I say one-stop shop, I kind of lie. We also have a podcast, we got a newsletter, all this other stuff, but you're going to get a lot of stuff right here on YouTube. We know from looking at our data, a lot of you are not subscribed. We want to put out that call. Please subscribe, helps us out immensely. We're making that push to get to 14,500 followers. JK, do you think we can do that pretty quick?
Yeah, we're gonna make it easy for you. See where my dome is now. You can just click this real fast. I think this works. If it doesn't work, then I'm just looking like an absolute idiot. But just click this thing right here, and we'd appreciate it.
Good stuff. In this video, we're going to talk about the Grade 3 Robert B. Lewis Stakes out at Santa Anita. Kentucky Derby points on the line. Let's start with talking about the horse who has probably the most established profile of any of these. I wonder if that's true. I'm sure Intrepido's connections, who I met out at Breeders' Cup, would probably say it's Intrepido who has the most established connections. But I'm seeing Desert Gate on a whole lot of Derby lists. Hasn't been out since the American Phaorah, where he went down 3/4 of a length to the aforementioned Intrepido, making the return to the races. It's eagerly anticipated. What do you think of this horse and where he stands amongst the flotilla of Baffert runners on this Triple Crown Trail?
Well, I think from your first statement, I think you're right. Intrepido is probably the where the conversation's supposed to start, or the leader in the clubhouse, being a Grade 1 winner. But I do understand that Desert Gate is getting a lot of buzz. I think the reason why is he's just been so consistent. He hasn't necessarily jumped up and won the big race that you'd like to see out of him. But the one thing that I've noticed is from 5 furlongs all the way up to a mile and a 16th, this horse has run at 4 different distances. And all 4 of those performances have basically been the same from a figure standpoint. He's very consistent, and potentially he's just going to continue to improve.
Let's get right to Intrepido then. I guess the reason why Desert Gate might have moved ahead of him on some Derby lists is simply he stayed in the barn at Breeders' Cup, whereas Intrepido did not run his race there. 5th beaten 10 to Ted Nafi. Now, of course, off the Triple Crown Trail. But you said it. He's a Grade 1 winner. Do you think he can get back to winning ways in the Lewis?
Well, I think that's why he provides an opportunity here in this race, is because he is a Grade 1 winner. So with Grade 1 winners and a group full of non-Grade 1 winners, the Grade 1 winner is likely going to take some money. He's got that name recognition running in the Breeders' Cup. He's just one that I feel like we kind of know who he is. I don't know how much better he's going to get, how much faster he's going to get. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But his price is going to indicate that he's a very likely winner of this race. And I think that's why he provides some opportunity for some other horses.
Clearly one that you want to see the Clocker report, get all the latest information before making a final decision. So make sure you get that information available to you. You know what? If you don't have it, a proxy for that information can be the way the horses bet. If you see a lot of betting enthusiasm for Intrepido, like beyond what the amount you'd expect based on the page, maybe that would be something to consider as well. Let's keep going through some of these runners. I think the most interesting, and what I mean by interesting, not necessarily as the winner of the race, but interesting to talk about horse that we see signed on here, is Plutarch. He was in that American Phaorah, ended up 3rd there, but not beaten far by Desert Gate and Intrepido. Since then, has run with some pretty nice credit on the turf. But it's just, and I mean, this is a dirt pedigree, stellar win, multiple Grade 1 winning, into mischief on the top. Bob Baffert usually looks for excuses to run on the dirt, not the turf. He's run this one on the turf 3 times. What do you make of this horse?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you open up the dictionary, dirt pedigree, it's like it's a picture of this, right? Into mischief, Curlin mare. And oh, by the way, that Curlin mare was a champion who won the Breeders' Cup Distaff. The fact that she ran as well as she did on the dirt, Stellar Win ran well on the dirt, but he ran well on the dirt. And then Bob Baffert, of all people, not Chad Brown, not Brad Cox, not, Miguel or Christophe Clement, not Bill Mott, but Bob Baffert decided to start running the horse on the grass, and then the horse gallops on the grass. Very, very confusing, very mixed signals. I guess if the price gets out of control, this is one that you can maybe take a flyer on. This is more of a wait and see for me. Now, Plutarch runs off the screen, he suddenly puts himself into the mix as a top contender with all that pedigree. But this is a very confusing situation for me with this horse.
It's a really interesting running of the Lewis. Not, sometimes these California preps, they can be Baffert team scrimmages, and Baffert very well represented in this spot. But a couple of other runners that I think really make this a race to pay attention to. We're going to talk about another Baffert, and we're going to talk about a couple of those non-Bafferts that make this such an interesting test for these thoroughbreds as they get ready for the first Saturday in May. I'll go right to my pick here, JK. That's Secured Freedom, who goes out for Tim Yachtine. A by practical joke out of an Uncle Mo dam, but I think this horse just visually gives the impression of one for whom this added distance is going to be well within his reach. Maybe the pedigree comes into question just a little bit when we get out to 1.25 miles, but I'm pretty confident this one's ready to make the jump from 6.5 out to the straight 8 furlongs here. The form of that last race has worked out pretty well with the second runner matching the figure, and the horse that actually finished last in there coming back to run an 89 Beyer speed figure. I think this horse has scope for improvement, and can pass horses, should get the right kind of trip from the outside. Do you see where I'm going with Secured Freedom, or am I eating paste in the corner here?
No, 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 I don't have a problem. I mean, he's just one that has a lot to prove. But I think you'll get paid for that. I think you'll get paid for him proving that. I think he'll be, he's got a nice figure last time with that 88 Beyer, but I do see him kind of creeping up a little bit around some of the other horses. So I think you'll get paid for it. He definitely has to prove that he wants to go longer. His first 2 races have been sprinting. His pedigree, while it doesn't, I don't have a problem with it wanting to go longer, but it feels a little bit shorter than it does a little bit longer if you had to pick one.
It's fair.
But we'll see. I mean, he comes from that Tim Yachtine barn, which comes from that Bob Baffert school of they'll turn a sprinty pedigree into a horse that wants to go a little bit longer because of the way they work in the morning.
Another race we're going to look at, 2 horses come out of just a maiden race, but it was a maiden race that looked pretty interesting. And you got to keep in mind, I think, when you're looking at the final figure, some people might be like, hey, what are you guys spending so much time talking about a maiden race that came in at 78 final figure? But the pace was really slow there. And maybe it was the kind of a situation where they could only end up going so fast late. You're going to see them here on the screen, both Robusta and Cherokee Nation. In the end, Robusta is going to get the half a length victory. How do you separate these two, and who do you prefer in this spot on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to try to go with Cherokee Nation here. $1.15 million purchase for the group of SF, Starlight, Madikit, et al. And more. It feels like one that they obviously they don't buy horses for that much money that they don't think want to go further from a physical standpoint and from a pedigree standpoint. They buy horses that have a pedigree to with a couple of grade 1 wins. No one's going to have a problem standing them at stallion. It's part of their master plan of when they buy all of those expensive yearlings. This horse has a lot to offer from a figure standpoint. He's got a lot to find. Excuse me. He's a little bit slower than I would like for him to be, but something about this horse just feels a little sneaky. The fact that they're being so aggressive, not taking their time, running the horse as a maiden in a stake. This is the second time that they've run this horse as a maiden in a stake. It just feels like Bob's seen something, and he didn't become a Hall of Famer for nothing, and he's trying to work it out, and it could happen here. I want to make sure I'm involved in the party.
I agree with you that Cherokee Nation is the more interesting of the two, and it gets back to that pace we talked about. Robusta was up there walking on it. Meanwhile, Cherokee Nation, 5 lengths back, turning in, ends up almost running the horse down, only beaten half a length. That's a loss only on paper. In terms of ability, I think it's fair to say Cherokee Nation showed a bit more of it than Robusta did in that race. I agree, interesting, but I'm going to, as I said, cast in my lot with Secured Freedom. You'll go for Cherokee Nation. We'll see if we can't come up with the winner of the Bob Lewis Stakes. We're going to have previews of so many of these Derby preps. We have our top 10 list. Make sure you check out our new top 10 video on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. And please do us a favor. Let us know who you think is going to win the Lewis. Drop that in the comments. Let's get a conversation going in there. And make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel.